Alrighty, so all of the Saturday night action is in the books, and I'm going to now review all of them in some late night MLS review action, or shall I say, some MLS After Dark review edition of this review. As hopefully I can get all these review done before midnight, and that hopefully I also won't be started to get really tired by the time I get to the end of this review, because yeah, we got a lot of games to talk about and hope that I can actually get this review under an hour as well. But that being said, one thing we have seen in terms of this Saturday night action, and especially throughout this match week so far, it's been a really rough time for teams based out of New York and LA, isn't it? From today, where pretty much all the team from New York and LA lost their game, and that include the first game on the top out, which is NYCFC versus Atlanta United. And remember how a couple of weeks when Minnesota had that epic meltdown against Sporting KC in the second half? Well, NYCFC kind of had something similar to that in this game against Atlanta, and in many ways, it feels like they were basically saw what Minnesota did in that epic meltdown against Sporting KC and said, "Hold my beer." After this game against Atlanta. Now, the first shot of the game came from short, but he puts it over from close before Marunchik would heads it wide from close, as that was Atlanta's first shot. Latte Laugh was then in on goal there, but he could not put that one on target. But it was no doubt it was a fast start to this game, as both of these teams was looking for the opener, and a little foreshadow of the fact that it would actually turns out to be a bit of a crazy game. But in the 13th minute, NYCFC takes the lead. It's Hannes Wolf, the one that gives NYCFC a 1-0 lead. This came from a throw-in as well, and Atlanta didn't deal with it cleanly, and they were rightfully punished because of that. Lobjanidze did look to respond, but he missed wide off a deflection before Alonso Martinez was in on goal there, but unfortunately he had a poor touch there and got that one out for a goal kick. And that also came of another bad turnover from Atlanta United. That has been a problem so far earlier this season, and it's once again a problem early in this game as well. But that being said, right as we head to halftime, it looked like NYCFC had a 1-0 lead, but in the 42nd minute, Morenchuk would score from Latte Laugh and Lobjanidze to tie the game up at one apiece, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. But that equalizer would be short lived, because a penalty was given 2 minutes into the second half as Martinez was brought down by Lennon there. And this also came from a simple long ball as well, where, NYCFC, or not NYCFC, I'm sorry, but Atlanta didn't deal with it very cleanly. Well, I'm going to say NYCFC didn't deal with it cleanly, because we had a very similar situation late in this game that would also be kind of an identical situation to this moment, but only that happened late in the game, and it would be really costly for NYCFC. But up to this point, again, just a simple long ball that Atlanta couldn't deal with it cleanly, and then Lennon kind of made a rash challenge there on Martinez. So yeah, NYCFC goes to the spot, a chance to retake the lead, and they did exactly that, as Alonso Martinez buries the penalty to give NYCFC the lead. Morenchik looked to respond, but he hits it right to freeze. But then in the 52nd minute, NYCFC would double their lead. It's Hannes Wolf again. He scored from Fernandez to make it 3-1 in favor of NYCFC. It's been a great start for Hannes Wolf in terms of the goal scoring. I think he's already up to 4 goals so far this season. But again, just some poor defending from Atlanta United. Again, just defenders kind of not dealing with the ball cleanly, kind of play right into the path of the NYCFC attack. And yeah, just like that, NYCFC was leading 3-1, and it looks like this was just going to be one of those games for Atlanta United, as we've seen in the beginning of the season, where for whatever reason, this team should absolutely be better than what they are right now. This is starting to look like last season all over again, with all the talent that they have is underachieving, mainly because the defense has been pretty god awful so far in the beginning of the season. So Gregerson did look to respond, but he puts this one wide in the 57th minute. But then in the 60th minute, Atlanta got a lifeline, because Keaton Parks inexplicably put the ball into his own net. And again, this is something we've seen it a lot so far this early in the season, where defenders not paying attention to the fact that there's actually no attacker kind of near the vicinity, and just kind of trying to toe poke that one in to go behind for a corner. And here Keaton Parks just inexplicably stick his leg out, thinking that there was an Atlanta defender right in his vicinity, and has to make it like an emergency toe poke behind for a corner, and unfortunately, inexplicably puts it into his own net, and it gives life for Atlanta, and certainly it brings the crowd back at the bends in this one. In the 70th minute, Almiron did look for an equalizer, but he puts it right to freeze, and that looked like was the moment for Miguel Almiron too, because he had a really good look from that angle, but unfortunately hits it right to freeze. But there was no doubt that the momentum was all with Atlanta. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer, and they did exactly that. As in the 74th minute, this time Miguel Almiron wouldn't miss. He scored from Silva and Edwards to tie the game up at 3 apiece. Martinez did look for a little shot cross there, but it was tipped over by Guzan. Guzan actually almost misread this one, and was a little fortunate the fact that he was able to just tip behind for a corner. Almiron then puts it over from close in the 81st minute, but then in the 85th minute, Atlanta would take the lead for the first time tonight. It's Latte Laugh once again scoring on the score sheet. I mean, with a game like this, you know Emmanuel Latte Laugh is going to get on the score sheet. Though this was kind of a bit of a gift for Atlanta because, yeah, again, just similar to what we saw with the penalty that was conceded by Atlanta United. Here it was just a simple Route 1 ball that, no, in this case, you could definitely say that Matt Freese clearly should have come out to get this one. I mean, Thiago Martins was absolutely livid with his goalkeeper after this moment, because I think he even called Freese to basically come out to get it. And obviously, we know the Benz is a very loud place, especially with the momentum with Atlanta. You can definitely hear the noise being there. So maybe, I guess, Matt Freese didn't hear Thiago Martins there when he was trying to get the ball. But in this instant, even if you don't hear your teammates calling you for the ball, I mean, it's kind of almost instinct for the goalkeeper to just kind of come off his lines to get to it. But that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what did not happen. And yeah, NYCFC was punished because of that, and Latte Laugh was right there to capitalize. And just like that, Atlanta takes the lead for the first time, and then it was almost 4-4 when Shorewood puts it into the back net. The problem was he was offside, and it wasn't even close. He was like offside a yard or two. It was pretty obvious, but yeah, in the end, what a comeback it is for Atlanta. They get their first win since their first win against Montreal, and I say that because I don't remember they actually got a win besides that opening day victory against Montreal. And so far, all their wins has been kind of high scoring, as this game ends 4-3 in favor of Atlanta. The shots in this one, 14 shots with the 8 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal, 5 shots off target with the 3 that NYCFC had. 2 shots was blocked with the none that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Atlanta has in this game. I also forgot to mention, this is the Ronnie Delia derby, with Ronnie Delia facing against the team that he won the MLS Cup just a couple of years ago, and he gets the best of his former boss in this one. Although I'm pretty sure he's not going to be happy in terms of how they got to that point. I mean, he'll be happy the fact that the team shows some fighting spirit to fought back from a 3-1 deficit. But yeah, there are still definitely going to be some concern when it comes to the defensive problem for this Atlanta team. As I mentioned before, they have had their struggle on the defensive end early in the season, and that's why they've off to a rough start to the beginning of the season. But for NYCFC, it's almost like what a similar feat to what we saw last year in the Leeds Cup against Cincinnati. Remember that game when they were, I think they were up like 2-0, and inexplicably in the second half they just hit the self destruct button and basically conceded 4 straight goals to lose that one to Cincinnati. Yeah, here we go again in this one. And I think this one is even worse than the last one, because this one, it was just some self-inflicted mistake. I mean, the goal by Latte Laugh, that probably should have never happened. And even the own goal by Keem Parks, if he would have just checked the fact that there was no one around him, he didn't need to poke that one behind into a dangerous area. And yeah, there's no doubt that Pascal Janssen, he's gonna definitely have some choice words with his team, for the fact that, yeah, they played relatively well for most part of this game, and then just like what we saw with Minnesota against Sporting KC, when you're not stay focused and just kind of stop playing and making those mistakes, yeah, it's gonna come back to haunt you. And unlike Minnesota, for NYCFC, they don't even get a point out of this game. Just an absolute collapse that they had in the second half against Atlanta United. But now moving on in the next match. is DC versus the Columbus Crew. So yeah, as I mentioned with DC, the fact that when they do play against real team, yeah, they're starting to get found out, and they kind of got found out in this game. Although I will say that as a neutral, if you watch this game, yeah, this was always going to be a tough game to watch. I think if this was a couple years ago, or even just last year, I think this would have been a very entertaining game because both Troy Lesesne and Wilfred Nancy does play a very great brand of soccer, as what we saw with their team last season. But that's just haven't really kind of been the case this year so far. But in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Rossi had a shot that was denied by Kim, but he actually get his own rebound there, but Kim was there to make a big save to keep this one 0-0 early on. And it was important because in the 13th minute, DC would take the lead. It's Benteke scoring from Peglo to give DC a 1-0 lead. And that was also the first shot for DC United as well. Unfortunately, that lead would be short-lived because just 3 minutes later, Diego Rossi would score from Herrera and Chambos to tie the game up at one apiece. And yeah, not a great goal to concede for Kim there. And this is the thing about him. I feel like he's kind of reminds me a little bit of what we saw with Alex Bono last season, where there's been times where Bono has made some big saves, but then there's times where he just let in some really soft goals, and this is another example of it. I mean, this is one that he got a hand to it. It was kind of hit right toward him, but just not strong enough to push that one away for a corner. Benteke did look to retake the lead not long after, but he hits this one wide before Kajima would put it wide from close range. I thought it was a good response for DC as they were looking to press to get the lead back. Russell Rowe would then hits one right to Kim in the 30th minute before Paglo was in on goal there, but couldn't put it on target. Kim then denied Russell Rowe from close as we hit close to halftime, and we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece between DC and Columbus. In the second half, Kim would deny Jones, but again, he kind of spills it. It was a very unconvincing save there from Kim, and he was able to get this one before it goes goal bound there. And like I said, it's been kind of an adventurous night for Kim. I mean, there's been times where he's been making some incredible save, but then there's times where he's just letting a soft goal in and almost have a disastrous moment like what we saw in the 54th minute. In the 55th minute, though, Benteke, which struck the post in the back post. Yeah, Christian Benteke would want that one back because he was wide open in the back post. He usually don't miss those opportunity. Arvston would then put it over from long range not long after, but then the 65th minute, Rossi would make it 2-1 in favor of Columbus. He scored from Arvston to make it 2-1 in favor of Columbus. It took a fortunate deflection as well, but Columbus wouldn't care. And this is definitely good news for Columbus, seeing Diego Rossi be scoring the goals. I mean, he's going to have to be like that Cucho Hernandez kind of player for this Columbus Crew team if they want to continue to rack up wins and solve this problem with them struggling to score goals early this season. Benteke did look to respond, but he was denied by Schulte in the 67th minute. We then go for a period where not much really happened. It feels like Columbus was kind of just happy to cruise their way to an easy win, and that's exactly what happened because DC really didn't offer any pushback in the last 20 minutes of this game, and as a result, Columbus, they walk away with a 2-1 win over DC, and the shots in this one, not a lot of shots. Only 8 shots for both of these teams. 2 shots on goal for the 6 that Columbus had. 1 shots off target for the 3 that DC had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And well, I will say for the Crew, they're still not at their best compared to last season. And I think it's got to a point where they're almost just kind of trying to tread water until the summer transfer window, where I'm assuming this Crew team will be spending big, especially trying to use some of that Cucho Hernandez money that they got from Real Betis to find that replacement, because there's no doubt they desperately miss Cucho Hernandez this season, and the goal contribution that he does, and that there's no doubt that they're definitely looking deep to trying to find that replacement. But as of now, they're just kind of treading water and hope some of these backup brigade guys can step up, and especially if Diego Rossi can also step up in terms of the goal scoring department, which is kind of what we saw in this game. And as a result, they get the road win. But for DC, like I said, when they do face against real good opposition like Columbus, yeah, it's no surprise that they're faltering, and it's not going to get any better, I think, for this DC team, because like I said, with the way that they play such an easy start to to the schedule is going to get tougher for them, and we're now really starting to see a team that, as I said before, I think between this team and New England and even Toronto and maybe even Montreal in a sense, they might be four teams that I predict could be finished as the four teams as at the bottom of the Eastern Conference by the end of the season with the struggle that they have early this year. But with that being said, moving on in the next match is Miami and the Philadelphia Union. And I gotta say, no shame in terms of of the Union losing this game. Consider I thought they actually played very well against Inter Miami in this one, but unfortunately, as we all know, when you're facing against Inter Miami, just because you play good doesn't mean you always get the result. And more times than not, even when you play good against Miami, not only you have to be perfect against them, but you just got to capitalize your chances against them. And when you don't capitalize your chances against Inter Miami, that's kind of the reason why the Union lost this game. Now, early on, the post would deny Pico from close as Miami was actually on the front foot and looked for the opener. Though the first shot for the Union did see Lukic hits it right to Ustavi before I thought the Union did a good job in terms of surviving the initial pressure. Miami kind of got off to a good start to this game, and the Union were able to survive that initial press. They were starting to try to get more of the ball, but unfortunately, they did concede the opening goal in the 23rd minute as Robert Taylor would score from Kamaski and Alba to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. Just some vintage Miami attack there. I mean, just so smooth in terms of how they move the ball and sets up that goal as well. Ganetovic did look to respond, but instead he puts one into Fort Myers in the 34th minute before Uru would hits it right to Ustavi. And again, good response for the Union. They definitely started to put some pressure on Miami, trying to tie it up before halftime. But we do head to halftime with Inter Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, there was a shout for a penalty for the Union not given. The GOAT would eventually announce himself around the 53rd minute, and it didn't take long for him to score the goal after he announced himself into this game, as he scored here from Suarez and Pico to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. I mean, that's just way too easy of how Inter Miami works that, and especially the last player you want to see on a 1v1 opportunity is the GOAT himself. Because if you're a defender and you're trying to defend the goal coming at you 1v1, yeah, just move out of the way. He's gonna score more times or not. Ustavi then denied Baribo on the doorstep of goal before Hariel heads it wide from close in the 63rd minute. Again, it was another good response for the Union, but you just kind of had a sense that, they need to get this goal. They need to show that clinical finishing, because so far in this game, it is pretty clear that Miami not only hasn't had a lot of chance, but they've been very clinical when it comes to their chances. And it seems like they got that message, because in the 78th minute, they got life as Daniel Gastak would score from Sullivan and Donovan to make it 2-1 in favor of Inter Miami. Vaslev would look for the equalizer, but he puts it wide off the deflection. And then Ustavi had to be subbed off in this one with a knee injury. He was dealing with a knock early in the game, and unfortunately, he couldn't continue in the 85th minute. Such a shame for that, because from what I heard, it seems like Javier Mascherano have said that Ustavi has earned this number one job, even though Calendar has now been back a while from injury. It seems like with the way Ustavi has played relatively well, he deserved to get the spot outright, but this injury will definitely be a major setback of his chance to continue to be the number one for Miami, as the Drake Calendar, who usually is the number one for Miami, replace him there. Dimane then hits it right to Calendar in the 4th minute of stoppage time before the GOAT himself looked to try to shut the door here, but he hits it right to Blake, and then Donovan would head it wide from close in the 9th minute of stoppage time, as in the end, despite the fact the Union put up a valiant effort, it was not enough. They lose 2-1 against Inter Miami, and the shots in this one, only 6 shots compared to 20 that the Union had. 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that Inter Miami has. 1 shots off target compared to 6 that the Union has. 7 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession the Union has in this game. And like I said before, there's no shame in losing to Inter Miami. A lot of teams lose to this team, even when they outplay them, but more times than not, if you're going to beat Inter Miami, or if you can even salvage a draw against this team, you simply not only have to play perfect, but you have to capitalize your chance. The Union didn't, and that's kind of the result of it, and that's kind of the way it's going to have to go when you do face against Inter Miami, especially if the GOAT is present in this game. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is Chicago versus Montreal. And I gotta say, the new interim head coach boost was definitely what Montreal needed in this game, because this was definitely the best performance that they put since opening week against Atlanta United. And while they didn't get the win and end this winless run, there are definitely some optimism if you're a Montreal fans that maybe things are going to be better, and especially with the way that the next game is the last game of this epic 7 game road trip to begin. The first win of the season might be pretty close around the horizon for this Montreal team. Now, in the first half, Montreal with most of the possession early on, as the Fire was looking to sit back early. There was no shot for the first 15 minutes, so yeah, it was a bit of a boring start to this game. The first shot of the game did see Brady tip Sealy shot over before Brady had to deny Owusu from close range. And like I said, Montreal has clearly come to play up to this point. I mean, coming into this game against a red hot Fire team, they were definitely not intimidated in this one. They were doing things that clearly you definitely did not see in the last couple of games under Laurent Courtois. And like I said, that can happen when you have an interim head coach and when you have these players that really wants to prove their new interim head coach that they still deserve their spot. You could see that the team was definitely playing up to its potential. But that being said, as good as Montreal was early in this game, I thought the Fire just looked very poor to begin this game. Clearly, they did not start on time and just not look like anywhere close to be the team that coming off of 3 straight road wins heading into this game. The first shot for the Fire CC was Rob Pineda as he pushed that one onto the post. So that's why I say that, the Fire almost score against the run and play. Clark would then heads it wide from close in the 35th minute. The shots were 5-2 for Montreal up to this point. But then the 40th minute, Chicago takes the lead as Zikanago, all of a sudden, he cannot stop scoring goal. That's 2 games in a row that Zikanago has scored a goal as he scored from Gutman and Bamba to give the Fire a 1-0 lead. And again, kind of against the run of plays too, because I thought up to this point Montreal was by far the better team and generate most of the chances. But despite that, the Fire does head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Kuipers would put it just wide from long range, but then the 51st minute, Montreal got their deserved equalizer as Dante Sealy would score his first goal for Montreal from Pedrasso to make it 1-1 in this one. And not only Dante Sealy scoring his first goal for Montreal, that is the first goal that this Montreal team has scored since opening day against Atlanta United. They have gone 400 plus minutes without scoring a goal up to this point, and they finally broke that ice in this one. And this is a week. It seems like a week where teams that is either winless have a long goal drought, or teams that have been winless this season and most least likely to win a game according to my video, finally have that streak kind of broke. We saw with that with New England, and now we're seeing with Montreal finally scoring their first goal since opening day. Brady then denied Duke from close in the 66th minute. Again, Montreal still getting more of the possession. They was getting more of the control. We're looking for the lead there. Owusu would miss wide from close range before Brady would deny Duke from close in the 89th minute. I gotta say, if it wasn't for Chris Brady with some of his heroic save, Montreal probably would have walked out with all 3 points in this one. But there was no doubt that they would continue to press to try to end their winless run, looking for their first win of the season. Ibrahim tried to do so, but instead he blasted that one into Lake Michigan in the second minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, and the shots in this one clearly favored Montreal. 17 shots for the 6 that Chicago has, 2 shots on goal for the 7 that Montreal has, 7 shots off target for the 3 that the Fire has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 3 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Montreal has in this game. And normally, I would say that the better team in this game not getting the 3 points will be frustrated that they left points on the table, and I think maybe that's what Montreal might feel like, that they had their moments to finally get their first win of the season. But consider how bad they've been playing the last couple of games on the road. This is a huge encouragement if you're a Montreal fan, and certainly something that you got to be very very excited. The fact that it feels like the team finally woke up from their slumber, because to go on the road when you have very low confidence and still able to get a result like that, especially against one of the hottest team, yeah, things are gonna might start looking bright for this Montreal team. But I can't say the same about Chicago. Again, it's kind of weird to say that the Fire is having struggled this season at home, but not so much on the road. But that's kind of the case. They're still winless so far this season at home, albeit yes, they haven't played a lot of home games to beginning the season. But yeah, I mean, this was probably one of the worst performances that they put this season under Greg Berhalter. They just looked flat throughout this entire game. I don't know if they might maybe underestimated Montreal in this one. I mean, when they're as high as they've been in the last couple of games, it's easy to kind of have a down game like this, and I guess that's kind of the case for Greg Berhalter team in this one, and they're probably very fortunate the fact that they still able to get a point out of this game despite them definitely not looking anywhere near where they were doing this free game road trip that they recently have. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last or not look at the last four games, but look at the second board because I actually have to change the board one more time, and now we're gonna be looking at the next game, which will officially mark the halfway of this review. So moving on, in the next one, we got Dallas versus Sporting KC, and while one team finally get their first win of the season at home, the other, yeah, the winless run continue for Sporting KC, and add another 7 day in terms of the amount of days since their last victory, which is now I think up to like 180 plus days. It's getting close to like 200 plus day. I remember a couple of years when the Union went like 260 plus day without getting a win. Yeah, I think Sporting KC is starting to get to that point. But in the first half, Davis would flash it wide off the volley as Sporting was actually on the front foot early on, and they desperately looked to try to end their winless run and get the opening goal. Musa with Dallas for a shot, but it goes over before Moore would puts it wide from close in the 28th minute. As you know, it was a slow start for Dallas, but they kind of woke up and were now looking for the opening goal. Chu would then miss wide from long range in the 30th minute, but then the 32nd minute, Daniel Shaarawy would score from Sulamanov to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead in this one, and a rare moment that Sporting KC is leading in the game because they have not had the lead a lot so far doing this miserable start to the season. And then Sulamanov himself looked to try to get on the score sheet and look for the second goal for Sporting, but he hits it right to pause. And that was huge because just a couple of minutes later, Dallas would tie the game up. It's Lucho Acosta. He scored from Musa to tie the game up at one apiece, and then not long after, Leo Chu would score his first goal for Dallas from Uhu to make it 2-1 in favor of Dallas. So yeah, that's not only got to be a backbreaker for Sporting KC, but just a sign of what we've seen in this season. Just as you thought that maybe things were going to go right for the Sporting KC side of getting that 1-0 lead and getting a rare lead in the game, yeah, that lead didn't even last 5 minutes, and now all of a sudden they found themselves in a familiar situation, trailing in a game, and that would be the scoreline heading into halftime at 2-1 as well. Now in the second half, Sporting KC had most of the possession, but as the case of most of the season, they just lack any ideas whenever they get to the final third, and this is another example of a team that just don't have any confidence whatsoever, even going in the final third. Ensembling would put it wide from close in the 60th minute, and what's kind of even alarming the fact that this team lack ideas in the final third is the attack was supposed to be the strength of this team, especially with what they did in the offseason, adding the addition, and that just have not been the case so far this year. In the 70th minute, Pass would deny Shelton from close range. Sporting was definitely getting some chances. As Dallas, I think they started to sit deep and try to hold on to get this win. That feels like it's a pretty dangerous game to play. And I know you're playing against a Sporting KC side that is struggling on the attack end, but I feel like that's still a very dangerous game to play. Especially Dallas this season have not looked good when it comes to their defensive shape at times. Rosario would then hit it right to pause, but in the end, Dallas does hold on to get the 2-1 win. And like I said, it's the first win that they had this season at home. The shots in this one, 8 shots for the 13 that SKC had, 5 shots on goal for the 2 that Dallas had, 5 shots off target for the 6 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots on his block for the 1 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 60% compared to 40% possession that Dallas has in this game. And again, the winless run continued for Sporting KC. The drum gets even louder now in terms of Peter Vermes getting fired. Again, the longer this winless run comes, you just kind of feel like it's now even more added pressure that the front office got to do it. Like eventually they have to let go of Peter Vermes and end his longest reign as a coach right now in MLS because this team just looked lifeless for most of the game. I mean, besides that one game that they had where they show some fight back against Minnesota, though I would say that was kind of a combination of them showing fight back and Minnesota just hitting the self destruction button in the span of 13 minutes. They look like a team that looks absolutely lost right now this season. Speaking of Minnesota, so for once, Minnesota was actually able to hold on to get a win in this one's. I mean, I was getting nervous in the second half, especially with the way that once again they kind of seems like they were going for road heave mode, and that RSL was getting a lot of chances. But I am very thankful the fact that RSL has been very woeful this season at times in terms of finishing, and also the element doesn't help itself. And even though, this was not a snow classical game that I wish it was, like, I look at the forecast ahead of this game, and when I saw that there was a chance that it would snow in this game, that kind of got me excited because I always love a snow game, especially when Minnesota is involved. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that there was no snow that was fall, but instead it was just heavy rain and windy condition throughout this game. And I got to give props to any Loons fan that actually attended this game. I mean, while the attendance was definitely not great in this game, there was a lot of empty seats at Allianz Field. It was pretty much 3/4 empty in this one. The fact that it was free, there was still fans that attended this one, despite the fact that they mentioned the temperature were like in the 30s and it was freezing rain condition. Again, all props to those Loons fans that showed up in this one, and more importantly, all props to the Loons actually getting the win in this one, because in a condition like that, it is not an easy condition to trying to get all three points when this team desperately needed after blowing leads in back-to-back games that they should have got all 3 points. Now, early on, RSL, had all the possession. Not a big surprise because that's kind of the style that Minnesota likes it. They love to give the other team all the possession. But at the same time, what RSL also did was they were playing a very high line. I was very shocked by seeing that. I don't know what was Pablo Mastroeni thinking, the fact you're playing a high line against Minnesota, because isn't that literally the thing you should not be doing against Minnesota, especially how lethal they can be this season on the transitional moment. And it kind of shown early in this one as Yeboah was in on goal here, but was denied by Cabral, and then Cabral denied Oluwaseyi, but it actually fall right back to him, and he could not put this one on target. I think that just kind of a combination, and almost a microcosm of this team early season of once again me being very frustrated that this team cannot finish in front of goal. Um, but at this point, as I said, Loons were getting some good opportunity, but as always, wasteful in front of goal. And in the post, with denied Longwane in the back post, and this is where I hate to kind of write this every single game, but I thought, oh boy, here we go again. Is this one of those games for this Loons team not able to finish their chance at home? Well, feels like in the 30th minute, the answer is no. It seems like they actually did show some finish, and especially Tani. I'm pretty sure now that he has got his confidence back. I think that game against Sporting KC, as bad as that game was for Minnesota, if there's one positive, is the fact that was the game that I think Tani has got his confidence back, because he scored here from Diaz and Lud, and this is fresh off of him scoring for the national team as well. He's definitely a very confident player right now, and he scored here to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead. Rosales then looked for another, but he was denied by Cabral in this moment before Gonzalez would blast one into the wonder wall on the free kick. We then got a multi-view angle of the game and no stadium audio as well from Apple TV. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. I don't know if someone accidentally pressed the in-truck production mode in this one, because yeah, it was kind of weird seeing multi-view angle of the game. I mean, it's almost like which camera angle should you be seeing? I mean, I was assuming it was a top left corner because that's where the scoreboard and the usual broadcast is, but it was kind of weird seeing a other angle as well. I feel like that might be a feature that Apple TV might use, where you can have like a multi-view angle of seeing different angle from each of the game. But yeah, like I said, that probably is the first time I ever seen that. That was kind of weird to see. But in the fifth minute stoppage time, and also that only happened for a couple of minutes. Eventually, they did fix it. Cabral would deny Oluwaseyi, and he was trying to chip the keeper from outside the box. Didn't quite worked out there. But we do head to halftime with Minnesota leading 1-0. Now in the second half, there was a bit of a delay to get the team back onto the bench. They showed for a couple of minutes of players kind of lining up next to the field club at Allianz Field, ready to be back on the pitch. And I thought, well, are they gonna get back on the pitch or not? I mean, I don't blame the fact that the players and even the referee doesn't want to get back onto the pitch because, like I said, the condition of this game was absolutely miserable. And let me know in the comments below if you actually went to this game and how the condition is, because I'm assuming it's probably not good. And not only the fact that the condition was bad with the weather, the pitch was really taking a beating. I mean, it looked like it is waterlogged. And as much as this pitch is designed when it comes to being heated and deal with snow, I'm kind of surprised it couldn't really dealt with the amount of water that is being put, because there was at one side of the pitch, I think it was on the Wonderwall end, where you can clearly see there was a patch of pitch that was completely waterlogged. And I was really surprised the fact that they didn't even fix that at halftime. The grounds crew, and it kind of also makes me nervous, because that was the side that Minnesota was going to attack in the second half, and we kind of saw there was a reason why RSL really struggled to attack on that end, because that end must be absolutely soaked to the blender, where you just simply cannot attack on the other end. But at least in the 55th minute, Tani shows that, yeah, you could actually still attack on the other end, because he scored again here from Pereira and Le to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. It was just a simple lightning counter attack, a beautiful full through ball there from Joaquin Pereira, who I have been very impressed with Pereira this season. He has really proven me wrong. I was very skeptical of him, especially last season, of how I was a little frustrated with how he plays and looked nothing like a DP player that I was imagining. This season it's been a complete different thing. And this is another example of a player maybe eventually figure out the system and figure out this league to a point where he has now show why Minnesota spend the money to get him, because he's been absolutely uh, dynamic in these last couple of games, and really almost single-handedly they took the role away from what Robin Le did with this team last season in general, with the being the creator of the team. In the 55th minute, Junka did look to respond, but he hits the side netting before Dane Sinclair denied Vera on the header. RSL finally started to get some sustained pressure, and we're looking to try to get one back. Barea would hits it right to Dane Sinclair. The intensity clearly dropped for the Loons ever since they went up 2-0. And again, this is the thing that I am started getting frustrated a little bit with Eric Ramsey, similar to what I said about Adrian Heath, where there's been times where I've seen this team let off way too early, and just let opponent kind of come back at them. And I've seen so many times that just have not worked out for this team. And especially after these last two games of them blowing leads back to back, I was even more frustrated that this season, just simply sit back and worry that, oh boy, yeah, this 2-0 lead is not gonna last. If RSL score one in this one, I would not be surprised if this team once again blow a 2-0 lead again. But the shots up to this point was 10-9 for Minnesota. At one point, it was heavily in favor of Minnesota, but RSL has clearly caught up to this point. Ruiz would then puts one way wide from long range before had a shot that took a deflection and hits right to Dane Sinclair. Again, the Loons, not no pun intended, but they were really dancing the through the raindrop in this game. It just feels like they're asking for it in terms of giving up a goal and once again blowing a lead, like what we see with Rohit Mo at time last season by sitting way too deep. Barea would then miss wide on a free header before Vera would puts one into the stands. We only get 3 minutes of stoppage time, which that definitely felt like less than I thought it would be, considering we did have a couple of injury too, including Owen Jean suffer an injury late in this game. Let's just hope he's okay, because while Minnesota does have some option in terms of the midfield, they're actually pretty deep in the midfield this season. You just don't want to start seeing guys going down left and right. But yeah, I thought there would be more stoppage time in this game. I guess everybody just kind of real feel like, yeah, let's just get out of this game. We don't want to be in this condition anymore, because this is clearly not the condition you want to play soccer And then yeah, in the end, it ends in a 2-0 win for Minnesota. The shots in this one, 15 shots for the 14 that RSL had, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that RSL had, 5 shots off target for the 4 that Minnesota has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that the Loons has in this game. Again, it's good to see that this team gets themselves back in their winning ways, and for once able to close out a game unlike the last two game. And while the way that they close it out is not what I really hope that this team would go for, at least they close the game out, and that's is all I'm asking for after just seeing these painful last two games of them failing to close things out. But for RSL, yeah, things have definitely been grim in the beginning of the season, and I know they'll probably be say that the condition didn't work in their favor. But at the end of the day, I mean, going forward, they just look absolutely toothless on the attacking end, and then also on the defensive end. Again, just playing the high line against Minnesota. Why would you think that that was a good idea if you're Pablo Matrani when you're playing against this team that literally feeds off of teams trying to play a high lines and go quickly on the transition. But that being said, moving on in the next game is Nashville versus FC Cincinnati. And I gotta say, this felt like a playoff game, wasn't it? And I would not be surprised if this is gonna be a playoff matchup too. And if it is the case, I think this is gonna be the first time we ever see a playoff matchup that only feature in MLS, but it also feature in the USL Championship. When both of these teams were still in the USL Championship before coming into MLS. Now, in the sixth minute, Flores would put it wide from close range before Orellano would hit it right to Willis in the 8th minute. As Cincinnati was on the front foot early, they were looking to try to get the opener. But as I said, that the post denied Mukhtar and Nashville the opener in the 12th minute before Salatano denied Mukhtar from close range. The shots were free too for Cincinnati up to this point. And again, it's been a lively start to this game with both of these teams getting some good chances. Willis then denied Orellano from close before he hits it right to Willis in the 33rd minute. Luka would then hits it right to Willis in the 36th minute as Cincinnati was pressing to try to get the opening goal, but instead it's Nashville the one that gets the opening goal as Josh Bauer, second game in a row, scoring a goal here to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. I even said that it was kind of against the run of play because up to this point it looked like Cincinnati was going to get the opening goal. But the good news for Cincinnati, they eventually did get their deserved goal, and that lead by Nashville did not last long because in the 43rd minute, here comes Evanders again on the free kick. You know he's probably the right now the most lethal free kick taker in the league, and he kind of shows you why in this case. I mean, even from that long of a range, that is definitely Evander range, and he buries that one on the free kick to tie the game up at one apiece, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, a penalty was actually given to Nashville as Denke brought down Zimmerman in the box. I mean, I kind of understand why some Cincinnati fans are not happy about that call. They feel like it was a bit soft of a call, but thankfully for them, Celentano came to their rescue. He denied Mukhtar from the spot. You can say that maybe that's a ball don't lie kind of moment, and then he absolutely robbed Alex Mule in that next moment, but it actually falls right to Surge, and somehow in some way he also robbed him there. I have no idea how Celentano was able to react back there, and it was not a weak header too. It was actually a pretty good header from Surge, but Celentano with some cat-like reflexes to get himself back up and robbing him there. And simply put, he is basically standing on his head early to keep this one at one apiece, and that would be big too as the game went on. Dinke then puts it wide from close in the 53rd minute before Surge would hits it right to Sautano. Taxaf then hits it right to Sautano in the 75th minute as Nashville was looking to try to get the lead back. Orellano would hit the post on the curler in the 86th minute, but then a penalty was given to Cincinnati late in this game, and this time Zimmerman, the one that is the culprit in terms of handball, and there's no doubt that this was clearly a handball. You can clearly see his hand was in an outstretched position, and that when the ball hits his hand in an unnatural position, they're always going to call that. So here comes Denke, a chance to step up to score the penalty. And how ironic this would be that in the early part of the second half, it was Zimmerman the one that gets the benefit show of a Denke foul, and now it feels like the table has turned. That now Zimmerman was the one that is giving up the penalty, and Danke has a chance to capitalize. and he does exactly that. So that made it 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati. Bunbury did look to respond, and he probably should have responded because that was a really good look from him. But he heads it just wide in the second minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, Cincinnati, they needed this win badly. I mean, things have not been going well for this team the last couple of games, but they get the 2-1 win in this one. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 15 that Nashville has, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots off target for the 1 that Nashville had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to the 5 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Nashville has in this game. And as I said, very entertaining game. Definitely looked like a playoff feeling kind of game, and I would not be surprised that this might be a matchup we could see in the playoffs, depending on how the seeding goes once the playoffs begin. But now moving on into the last game on this board is the Quakes and the Seattle Sounders. And what's kind of ironic coming out of this game is that this was probably one of the worst display that the Quakes have played this season, especially on the attacking end. And yet, despite the fact that this was one of their worst display on the attack, they got a point out of this game. And what's kind of ironic about that is that the last couple of games they have been been so good on the attacking end, putting a lot of XG, and yet they didn't get a win in this one. I mean, I guess that's just kind of how it works, especially in the world of MLS, where somehow when you're not playing at your best, you still are able to get a point compared to when you're playing at your best, but been very unlucky in terms of not finishing the chances. Now, in the first half, Yamar would headset wide from close as Seattle has started well, and the Quakes clearly did not start on time in this game. Well, not much really happened, at least early in this one. The shots were only 1-0 for the Sounders 15 minutes in. Rodon would then head it wide from close, and then the first shot for the Quakes didn't came until the 23rd minute before LaRue would heads it right to Fry. Harks then puts it over from long range in the 26th minute, and the Quakes slowly started to get into this game, although whenever they get to the final third, it feels like it's a black hole for this team. But in the 32nd minute, they do get the opening goal of this game as Bo LaRue would score his first career MLS goal to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead, and it was a fortunate goal too because it took a fortunate bounce that kind of looped over the head of Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry, I mean, he tried his best to try to keep this one out, just couldn't quite do so. But also, this kind of came off of a bad turnover from the Sounders as well. Yeah, again, the Sounders, as good as their defense has been this season, there's been times where they have turned the ball over carelessly, and yeah, they got punished because of this. LaRue then looked for another, but he hits it right to Fry in the 41st minute, and we do head to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0, despite the fact that I thought Seattle was the better team in the first half. And that kind of continued in the second half as they were pushing to try to get the equalizer. Rothrock would miss wide from close. And just like the first half, the Sounders have started well. The Quakes once again did not start on time coming out of the halftime dressing room. Nuhu would then hits one right to Fry. Or not right to Fry, I'm sorry, right to Daniel, that is. Before there was a shout for a handball for the Sounders that was not given. And that come after just a scramble in the box that the Quakes just had a lot of trouble in terms of dealing with when a corner was coming for the Sounders. And up to this point, this is when I immediately wrote the Quakes are playing with fire right now, because right now the Sounders were all over this Quakes team, and it just feels like this team is clearly playing a bend but don't break kind of style, which usually does not go well with this team, especially of how their defense is. Like I feel like up to this point, if this is going to be the way that the Quakes are going to continue to play, yeah, they're not going to get the 1-0 victory. It will be too good to be true that they can walk away with a 1-0 win. But then again, this is a Bruce Arena team, and Bruce Arena has kind of worked miracles with this team and have kind of defied the logic. So it was kind of interesting of how this game would play out. But as we'll you see in the scoreline, yeah, we know how this game plays out. Nuhu then puts it wide from close range. I mean, Nuhu definitely he was on a mission to try to score his second career MLS goal in this game as well. He had a lot of attempt, more than I think he usually get for the Sounders. But up to this point, the shots were 14-7 in favor of the Sounders, and I thought it was relatively low too because the Sounders at times were putting a lot of chances and a lot of shots to the Quakes team. Muswaski then puts it over on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, that is one that Danny Muswaski would want to have back, and especially against his former team and really the team that kind of made him feel like he was not good enough to play with. I think he had some vendetta that he really wanted to score a goal against a team that think that he wasn't good enough in the first place. But I also thought that that moment kind of sums up Seattle up to this point. They just simply cannot find their shooting boots. In the 77th minute, Martinez with a rare chance for the Quakes, but he was denied by Fry. It wouldn't have counted either way because the flag came up. But then in the 80th minute, you knew this was coming. You knew eventually the Sounders were going to get this equalizer, and it happened in the 80th minute with Albert Rusnak scoring from Christian Rodon to tie it up at one apiece. So yeah, unfortunately, we did not see what Bruce Arena can defy logic and pull off a stunning 1-0 win despite them up under just constant pressure throughout the game. But one thing for sure is that despite the fact that the Sounders continue to press to try to get the lead, they can't do it. And once again, they still cannot get the better over the San Jose Earthquakes. It's now, what, 8 games now since the Seattle Sounders have last tasted victory against the San Jose Earthquakes. Again, it feels really weird to say that the Quakes kind of had an onage on Seattle because this usually is never the case. If you're going back to like in 2017 or 2018 when the Sounders had that incredible streak where they were unbeaten against the Quakes like 14 consecutive games, and now it feels like the Quakes have completely turned the table, and now they're the one that is trying to go at that streak of consecutive games without losing to the Seattle Sounders. But yeah, like I said, in the end, the game finished 1-1. The shots in this one, 26 shots committed to 10 that the Quakes had, 10 shots on goal committed 3 that the Quakes had. Yeah, Daniel definitely stole this game for the Quakes with some great save that he had made throughout this game. 6 shots off target for the 3 that the Quakes had. 3 shots that was blocked for the 7 that the Sounders had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And I also think this is a game where it might also be a classic example of, usually I say that the road team getting a point, that would be a great result. But in this case, I'm pretty sure the Sounders will be very frustrated that they couldn't get a free get all 3 points, especially this is probably one of their better attacking display that they've shown this season. And again, the Quakes, it's a weird world that we're living in right now where sometimes when the Quakes are not being clinical in terms of finishing, they lose, but when they're not putting a lot of shots and create chances, they somehow get a point out of it. So I guess maybe that's kind of what Bruce Arena strategy might be, is simply just, score a goal or two, maybe get lucky, and then, yeah, just kind of absorb pressure and hope for the best. I mean, that might not be the greatest strategy going forward, but hey, that seems like that's kind of the trend, at least for the Quakes the last couple of games. But I also think, most importantly, the good thing for the Quakes coming out of this one is that they finally end that winless run. They at least stop the bleeding with this losing streak, and now let's see whether or not if they can get themselves back into the winning ways, especially on the attacking end, where again this was just a rare off night for this Quakes team. I think besides this game and the Minnesota game is really the only time where I see the Quakes just look completely flat on the attack and I feel like they are very fortunate that they got a point out of this game. But that being said, I am now going to switch the board one more time and look at the last two games and the last two West Coast game to finish off the busy Saturday night action of match week number 6. All right, so as I mentioned before, not only this week was a rough week for a New York-based team, but this was also a rough week for LA-based team, and it is very rare we see both of the LA team lose in the same week. In fact, it's been a long time since we see both the Galaxy and LAFC drop a result in the same week, but that's exactly what happened this week. And we start off with the Galaxy taking on Orlando City, and this was a game where it looked like the Galaxy were finally on their way of ending their winless run. Like for 75 minutes, they were well in control of this game, and they did had their missed opportunity to kill this game off, and then yeah, we saw an example of why you definitely want to kill off your opponent, because as soon as you get a chance for your opponent to tie the game up, especially with times remaining, everything changes. And really, this game flipped on its head in the last 15 minutes, where Orlando just kind of completely turned this game upside down in the last 15 minutes. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Atuesta hits it right to McCarthy before Freeman hits it right to McCarthy in the 8th minute. Galese then tipped Fagundes shot cross over, as I thought it was a lively start to this game. Both of these teams were looking for an early opener, and that's exactly what happened in the 14th minute as the Galaxy were the one that gets the opening goal as Christian Ramirez continue his red hot goal scoring form. He scored from Yamane and Cirillo to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Ojeda did look to respond, but he flashed that one wide. There was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy. Instead, Yamane got booked for simulation. I love how all they basically were making his case to Yamane, the fact that that actually was a penalty. But yeah, Yamane knew it. Like he didn't even complain to the referee. He knew he was gonna get booked for simulation, and that's exactly what happened. Galese then denied Peck, but it was Recycle, and Fagundes had a second chance here, but he struck the post in the 37th minute. The Galaxy was definitely pushing to try to get a two-goal lead late in the first half, but we do head to halftime with them leading 1-0. In the second half, Ramirez would head wide from close range. By the way, speaking of Ramirez, I forgot to mention in the goal that he scored here, Orlando fans were not happy. The fact that that goal counted because yeah, it definitely looked like Ramirez was in front of the ball when Yamane basically squared that one in. When you're in front of the ball and you're kind of the last man and beyond the last defender, yeah, that probably should have been called offside. And I was really surprised that they didn't reverse that. But then again, we'll see later in this game where it feels like we had a bit of a makeup call happen late in this game as well. But Pasalic would then hits one into the stands off the back post as there was also a huge ovation coming in as Josep Painto summoned for the first time this season. He didn't really had too much an effect in this game, which not a big surprise considering this is the first game of the season for him. He must be incredibly rusty coming into this one. There was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy not given in the 64th minute before Yamane would puts it high from close range. The Galaxy again, they were still looking to kill this game off with this second goal. Ramirez would puts it wide from close range, and then the 74th minute, this is the makeup call. So a penalty was given to Orlando after Yamane brought down Atuesta in the box. I don't think that was a penalty. I think that was incredibly soft. If anything, it looked like Atuesta was the one that initiated the contact on Yamane, and I thought, when I see that kind of situation, usually sometimes see the player that trying to initiate the contact would actually get booked for a yellow card for simulation rather than a penalty. But yeah, apparently that's not how the referee saw it. And again, I feel like this feels like it's a makeup call for that blatant offside miss that we saw in the 14 minutes. So here comes Ojeda, a chance to steps up from the penalty spot. I mean, I'm pretty sure Galaxy fans were hoping that, well, let's hope that the ball don't lie. Unfortunately, the ball did lie in this moment as Ojeda would bear the penalty to tie the game up at one apiece. I mean, I say the ball don't lie. I mean, again, I feel like this was clearly a makeup call to the goal that the Galaxy scored that probably should have been pulled back for offside. So at least we're all even up to that point at one apiece. And then there was a chance in the 78th minute for Atuesta to give Orlando the lead, but the post denied him there, and this is when the game really turned. Like as soon as Orlando City finally got the equalizer, and equalizer that they probably got very fortunate that they got. The script completely changed. This is when Orlando really started to push for the lead. Maguire was in on goal there, but he missed wide in the 79th minute before Muriel would flash one just wide in the 81st, and then Maguire would put it wide on the header. And again, the Galaxy, they look like they were on the rope because all of a sudden Orlando City had all the momentum since their equalizer. They were pressing hard to try to take the lead for the first time, and they did exactly that. Although this lead probably shouldn't happen if once again McCarthy give up a soft goal. And I gotta say, we clearly have a goalkeeping controversy and maybe a goalkeeping problem right now for the Galaxy because this is the second game in a row that McCarthy let in a soft goal. I mean, if you remember the last game against Minnesota where he let in a soft goal from Yeboah, giving up a juicy rebound right into the path of Yeboah, who tapped it into the empty net. And here, just a simple free kick ball coming into the box, and McCarthy just I don't know did he misjudge the fly of the ball, but he tried to tip this one or at least catch this one, and not only he didn't catch this one cleanly, but he goes into the back net. And by the way, speaking of how both of these LA team lost, it was a rough night for LA goalkeeper too, as we'll talk about in this game as well. We had something a little similar involving a free kick where an LA goalkeeper make a huge mistake and was punished because of it. But yeah, a big mistake there from McCarthy, but Orlando wouldn't care. They take the lead for the first time, and now you wonder, will they maybe go back to Makovic after this moment? Because again, after two game in a row, and especially Greg Vanny really trusts Makovic is kind of the guy, and he's only given McCarthy a chance because Makovic hasn't been very good in the last couple of games. You wonder, is he gonna go back to him now because of it? Because yeah, again, there's definitely some concern if you're a Galaxy fan in terms of the goalkeeping situation right now. Parente did look to respond, but he puts it over in the fourth minute of stoppage time, and we do. And in the end, that would be the final action of this game as Orlando City pull off the victory. I mean, for 75 minutes, it didn't look like they were going to get all 3 points, but that's what momentum can do to a game. They pull off the 2-1 win. The shots in this one, 15 shots for the 10 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots on goal for the 4 that Orlando City has. Both team had 5 shots off target. Both team had 2 shots that was blocked. And possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And I guess this is a game that I think the Galaxy got a taste of the old medicine of what Minnesota fans kind of felt like letting one slip, because yeah, this is a game that they should have absolutely won this. And this is also a classic example of what happened when you don't get that second goal. Like when you do not get that second goal and you let your opponent hang in the game despite the fact that Orlando clearly were not playing at their best up to the point when they score the equalizer. Yeah, as soon as they score the equalizer, they have the belief, and next thing you know, they pull out one late in this game. But again, the goalkeeping question, that is going to be a big talking point heading in the middle of the week, and especially if both of these goalkeeper doesn't work out for this Galaxy team, do not be surprised heading into the summer transfer window that the goalkeeping position might be a position that the Galaxy might be prioritized heading into the transfer window, and that could be tough too because again they don't really have any cap space anymore, and if they had a goalkeeping controversy or a goalkeeping problem like that, they almost gotta have to solve within and hope that one of these goalkeeper eventually would put in a good long stretch of performance. And if that is not the case, we've seen before where teams juggle between two goalkeepers throughout the season, and those teams usually do not make it get to the playoffs or go very far in the playoffs. But moving on into the last game on this board is the wild game between San Diego versus LAFC. And I say this is a wild game because I thought we were going to be in for an absolute barn burner with the way that there was 5 goals heading into the second half. Now, still, this was a game where, again, there were some mistakes that was being made, especially on the defensive end, especially late in the first half, where it feels like defense kind of just stopped playing after the 34th minute. But early on in the first half, Valicari with the game's first shot, but he missed high there before McNair almost scored an own goal from close range in the 7 minute. Very similar to where a defender tried to play that one behind for a corner and almost put it into his own net. Ruiz then denied Godoy from long range, as I thought it was a lively start to this game. Both of these teams were getting some good chances. There was a huge shout for a penalty that was not given to San Diego, but then the 22nd minute, San Diego would take the lead as Chris McVeigh, he scored from Dwyer to make it 1-0 in favor of San Diego. It's his first goal for San Diego, and a rare goal too, because Chris McVeigh is not known to score goals in his career, knowing of him being a center back. Mighton did look for another, but he missed wide in the 24th minute. There was a lot of foul and yellow card early in this one, which kind of shouldn't surprise anyone because you know that whenever a San Diego and LA team get together, the rivalry is that definitely there between these two SoCal team. And I'm still kind of interested to hear from a San Diego FC fan which LA team you feel to have the more hatred toward. Is it LAFC or is it actually the Galaxy? Because at least in this game, it definitely looked like they have more hatred toward LAFC with the amount of fouls and yellow card that is being handed out. But that being said, in the 34th minute, San Diego would make it 2-0 as Valicari would score to make it 2-0. And as I said, this was not a great night for LA's base goalkeeper because here Lloris basically kind of did something similar to McCarthy, where the ball was coming in and he just simply dropped the ball on a simple free kick cross. And for a World Cup winning kind of goalkeeper like that, that is something you usually do not see every single day. And Lloris has had his share of bad moments with LAFC, but this is easily one of his worst moment, if not the worst moment in an LAFC jersey, maybe even in his career as well, because that is such a gaff of a goal that he conceded. So much so, I actually even hit the computer out of frustration. I'm pretty sure that's what LAFC fan feel after seeing that goal conceded. But San Diego fans wouldn't care. They were up 2-0, and then they were in dreamland again. Just 6 minutes later, as Alex Maiton would score from Valakari and Lawfulson for his first career MLS goal. It is 3-0 in favor of San Diego. Game's over, right? No, because in the 43rd minute, Smolennikov would score his first career MLS goal, and it was an absolute banger as well. Don't be surprised if Smolennikov would get himself the goal of the week, because that was just so lovely hit from the Ukrainian player there. And then right on the stroke of halftime, Chingiz Unda would score his first career MLS goal from Delgado to make it 3-2 in this one. There was no defending that was being played in this one. I swear, if this first half kind of continue, I guarantee the scoreline would be 6-5 or even 7-6 up to this point. But we do head to halftime with San Diego leading 3-2, and they're probably happy the fact that it's still the halftime whistle is sound, because if we would play a couple more minutes, they probably would have lost that lead with the way that how loosely they were playing on the defensive end. But as we head in the second half, Lloris would deny Valakari from close range, and then we see a red card here from Igor Jesus getting his second yellow. And again, this shouldn't be a big surprise, because there was a lot of yellow cards that was being handed out. You just kind of had a feeling eventually someone was going to get a second yellow with the amount of yellow cards being handed out early in this game. Dos Santos then denied Martinez on the breaks in the 59th minute. There was a shout for a penalty again for San Diego, not given. And as Shingas Undo was subbed off, he definitely had some choice words with the fourth official and the center ref. And I wrote that because you can clearly hear it in the mic. He was not happy with the center ref. And I think he mentioned something about the Jesus red car, and he was not happy. The fact that his teammate got sent off there. And again, when you look at this game and how the referee ref this game, I can understand the frustration of the players with the referee maybe at times being a little bit trigger happy with the yellow card. But then at the same time, when you look at some of the fouls that's been committed, those were really yellow card worthy fouls. Just kind of one of those games where both of these teams, they were not afraid to really pull in a challenge there and go in a challenge. And as I said, it's not a big surprise considering these two teams. This might be a beginning of a rivalry that could be form, and it's definitely a rivalry game whenever a San Diego team meet an LA team. But in the 73rd minute, Lozano was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Lloris. Wouldn't have mattered because the flag went up there. By the way, Chucky Lozano making his return in this game. He was definitely a little bit rusty, but again, I'm pretty sure the San Diego fans are very happy that their star man is back in this team. Though again, he is still looking for his first goal in a San Diego jersey. To be fair, this is only the third game that he played for San Diego after being out with a lengthy injury. Bawanga would then miss wide from close in the 82nd minute. I thought LAFC has actually looked the better side, despite the fact that they're down a man. And this is kind of the thing we usually see with teams too, where just because a team is up a man, you would think that they have the advantage. And sometimes that of course is the case, but more times than not, we've seen before where sometimes teams do struggle when they have a man up, and we might kind of see that with San Diego, with the way that LAFC, they're gonna have no choice but sit back and counter. That just kind of plays right into the bread and butter of their game, and we're starting to see San Diego kind of had that issue of dealing with San Diego, or dealing with LAFC just kind of sitting back and really looking for the counter-attacking moment, and almost it kind of give San Diego a little false sense of security that they can push the line a little higher, thinking that they have the man of coverage. And in the end, that's not the case, because that's exactly what LAFC wants you to do despite being a man down. Ordaz would then clip the post from long range. Up to this point, I thought San Diego was holding on for dear life. They were on a tightrope, and they're trying to close this game out. Lozano tried to do so, but he puts it over the wall on the free kick. But in the end, San Diego survived. They get the 3-2 win over LAFC. They have definitely got the best out of the LA team so far. That's now 2 for 2 whenever they face an LA-based team. And the shots in this one, 14 shots with the 12 that LAFC had, 4 shots on goal with the 6 that San Diego has, 3 shots off target with the 5 that LAFC had, 2 shots that was blocked with the 4 that San Diego has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to the 40% possession that LAFC had in this game. I can't wait until both of these teams meet each other again, especially at BMO Stadium, because it definitely looked like this had a proper tie of a rivalry game and just almost a great introduction to it. And I know, obviously, Galaxy fans would wish that that might not be the case. They want San Diego and the Galaxy being a better rivalry than the this one between San Diego and LAFC. The bottom line is that I think it doesn't matter which LA team San Diego face. You know it's gonna be a feisty kind of game, and you know at times it could be a fun and almost El Trafico like kind of game, like what we saw in this one, because between this moment, I thought I was watching El Trafico rather than San Diego versus LAFC. But yeah, no doubt I can't wait for the next game. But most importantly, for San Diego, big win for them after bounce back after their first loss. I mean, that's kind of the important thing about this team expansion season. This is the first time they suffer some adversity after losing their first game. How will they bounce back? And while it was not a perfect performance by Mikey Vera's side, the more important thing is that they bounce back with a win, especially with the caliber of LAFC. And for LAFC, yeah, the road struggle has been a problem this season. They have lost a lot of road games to start the season. And while, they've been very good at home this season, if they want to be a team that is going to finish at the top of the Western Conference, or at least close to being so, they need to win their road games. And so far, they're not doing it this season. I think this is now the third time they lost this season uh so far, and all three of those losses has come on the road. But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at these 10 games that happened on Saturday night. Again, it was an epic long review, and I think this review has pretty much now gone over 60 plus minute. But hope you guys enjoyed this review, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 10 games that happened tonight. Tomorrow we will get more games to finish up the action of match week number 6. In fact, I say there's going to be more games. There's only going to be 2 more games, with one being the matinee game, and then the other one being the Sunday night soccer game between the Timbers and the Houston Dynamo. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.